They said history is written by the victors, but what about the inventors who were never given victory? What about the people whose brilliance shaped the world while their names were erased from the chapters of our textbooks? Tonight we pull back the curtain on a hidden legacy of Black innovators whose creations quietly power your everyday life, and you never even knew it. Picture this. You wake up in the morning, your room gently lit by a bulb, the air cooled by an air conditioner, and the coffee pot humming on the counter without realizing it. You are already surrounded by inventions made possible by Black minds who fought not just to innovate, but to exist in a world that doubted them. Garrett Morgan stood at a busy intersection in the early 1900s, watching carriage wheels clash with automobiles as chaos threatened lives. He saw not just danger, but opportunity, and created the three-position traffic light that made roads safer forever, changing how the world moves. Sarah Boone watched women struggle to smooth dresses on flat wooden boards, and instead of accepting the difficulty, she designed the modern curved folding ironing board that made clothing care graceful and efficient. Frederick McKinley Jones understood that without proper cooling, food and medicine spoiled fast. He built the first automatic refrigeration system for trucks, saving lives during wars and feeding entire nations with fresh supplies. Granville Woods, known as the Black Edison, worked inside the dark clatter of railway cars and created a telegraph system that let trains communicate, preventing crashes and saving thousands of passengers. Madam C.J. Walker mixed hair products in her small kitchen, determined to create something better for Black women's hair. She became the first self-made female millionaire in America, proving that innovation can grow from nothing. Lonnie Johnson tried to build an eco-friendly heat pump in his bathroom and accidentally invented the Super Soaker water gun, turning a failed experiment into a billion-dollar toy and a childhood symbol of joy. Lewis Latimer, born to formerly enslaved parents, drafted the patent drawings for the telephone and invented a longer-lasting carbon filament, making electric light bulbs affordable for the world. George Washington. Carver walked barefoot through southern fields and turned peanuts into over 300 products, from fuel to cosmetics, showing that even the humblest crop could spark an empire of ideas. Marie Van Britten Brown feared being alone at home in a dangerous neighborhood, so she created the first home security system, complete with cameras and alarms, a design that inspired the systems that protect millions today. These inventions are not just objects. They are acts of defiance. They are whispers that say, "I will not be invisible." They are the proof that creativity cannot be chained, no matter how heavy the world's doubts may be. Imagine reaching for your toothbrush in the morning, a simple tool whose mass production was made possible by Black innovators who refined the machinery that shaped its bristles and handle, bringing hygiene to millions. Even something as ordinary as your morning mail is touched by their brilliance. The mailbox design used around the world came from Philip Downing, who made letter delivery faster and safer. The elevator doors that glide open for you every day are safer because of Alexander Miles, who designed an automatic mechanism after seeing too many people fall through open shafts. If you unfold a chair at a backyard party, thank John Purdy, who invented the folding chair, making comfort portable for the first time in history. When your garden blooms under the spray of a lawn sprinkler, you are seeing Joseph H. Smith's creativity in motion. He imagined a way to make watering simple and efficient. Otis Boykin designed the control unit for the pacemaker, and his electrical resistors live in almost every modern device, silently keeping hearts beating and machines running across the planet. Richard Spikes made safer clutches and gear-shifting mechanisms, innovations that still protect drivers today and make vehicles smoother and more reliable on the roads. James West co-invented the electret microphone, a device used in almost every phone and recording system, ensuring that the world hears your voice clearly every single time you speak. Even the ice cream scoop owes its effortless shape to Alfred L. Kroll, who patented a design that made serving frozen desserts easier and more elegant. And let us not forget Benjamin Banneker, who created one of the first striking clocks entirely from wood, proving that time itself could be measured by the hands of a man who taught himself mathematics and astronomy. These are not just stories about inventions. They are stories about resistance, about daring to create when the world insisted on silence. They are proof that brilliance is not limited by circumstance and that every barrier can be broken. Before we continue, pause for a moment and look around you at the lights, the furniture, the tools in your hand. Imagine how many of them exist because someone who was never mentioned in your school books refused to stop dreaming. Their journey was not just about making life easier. It was about proving that they belonged in a future that tried to shut them out. They worked in barns and basements, in tiny rented rooms, often denied funding recognition or even the right to patent their work under their own names. Yet they kept going, driven not by applause but by the vision of a world that could be better. They saw beyond their own lifetimes and gave gifts they might never see people enjoy. It is easy to think of inventions as products, but these were acts of hope. Each one a spark struck in darkness, each one saying, "Even if you do not see me, I will still build." And that is why telling their stories matters, because if we forget their names, we also forget what they proved, that genius lives everywhere, and it only needs a chance to be seen, to be. Before we move on, if you are feeling inspired by these hidden pioneers, take a second to support their legacy by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Together we can keep their light alive and make sure no great mind goes unseen again. They say the first half of a story draws you in, but it is the second half that changes you. And as we continue through the hidden legacy of Black inventors, their brilliance only shines brighter. Each name a spark that helped set the world on fire with progress. Think of Percy Julian, a chemist who stood in a lab surrounded by doubt and transformed plant compounds into life-saving medicines. He synthesized cortisone to treat arthritis and glaucoma, giving relief to millions who once lived in pain and darkness. Then there was Dr. Charles Drew, a man who looked at blood not as a limitation, but as a bridge. He developed the system of storing and preserving blood plasma during World War II, a breakthrough that saved thousands of soldiers and civilians when war threatened to drain the world of hope. Mark Dean grew up tinkering with broken radios and grew into the mind that helped invent the first gigahertz microprocessor. He co-created the original IBM personal computer, the machine that opened the digital world and made modern life possible. Valerie Thomas saw flat images and imagined depth. She invented the illusion transmitter, a device that paved the way for modern 3D imaging technology. Her vision brought the impossible into living color. Dr. Philip Emeagwali stood before rows of computers and saw rivers of data waiting to flow. His theories on parallel computing reshaped the way information moves across the internet, making our hyper-connected world a reality. James E. West, who once worked quietly in a Bell Labs corridor, co-invented the electret microphone, a tiny invention that became the voice of the world today. It lives in almost every phone camera and sound system you will ever touch. Norbert Rillieux walked into sugar refineries filled with steam and danger and created a safer, more efficient evaporator system. He turned one of the deadliest industries into a global powerhouse that fueled economies. Marie Daly became the first Black woman in America to earn a PhD in chemistry, and she shattered more than glass ceilings. Her research on hypertension revealed how diet and lifestyle affected heart disease, saving countless lives and inspiring generations of scientists. Dr. Patricia Bath stood at the edge of an operating table and refused to accept blindness as fate. She invented laser cataract surgery, giving sight back to millions who now see their loved ones again because of her light. Elijah McCoy watched trains break down and saw a way to keep them running. His lubrication systems became so trusted that engineers began asking, "Is it the real McCoy?" A phrase that still echoes today, symbolizing authenticity. Garrett Morgan was not finished after the traffic light. He also invented the safety hood, a precursor to the modern gas mask, saving lives during tunnel rescues when everyone else ran away from the smoke. Jan Ernst Matzeliger stood in a shoe factory and saw endless wasted labor. He built a machine that could attach shoe soles faster than any human, cutting costs and making shoes affordable to ordinary people for the first time. Benjamin Banneker mapped the stars by hand and helped survey the land that became Washington, D.C. He built a wooden striking clock from scratch and proved that genius can bloom even in the shadows of oppression. David Crosthwaite designed advanced heating and ventilation systems that warmed some of the largest buildings in the world, transforming cold, empty spaces into thriving centers of creativity and culture. Katherine Johnson stood behind mission control at NASA and calculated the trajectory that sent John Glenn into orbit and brought him safely back. Her math carried humanity beyond the clouds and toward the moon. Lonnie Johnson, after giving the world the Super Soaker, kept pushing forward, creating energy technology using hydrogen power that could one day fuel entire cities with clean energy. Dr. Gladys West spent years mapping the precise shape of the Earth. Her calculations became the foundation for GPS technology, which now guides billions of people to their destinations every single day. Even space shuttles owe their safe landings to Black Brilliance NASA engineer Mary Jackson, broke barriers while redesigning aircraft flight paths. Her work saved lives and expanded the possibilities of aviation. Otis Boykin's resistors not only live in pacemakers but in computers and missiles, proving that one mind can shape both healing and defense simply through persistence and ingenuity. As you breathe inside climate-controlled rooms or speak into phones or travel through space-age highways, remember these are not just conveniences. They are echoes of lives that refuse to give up. They are the living fingerprints of people who dared to see beyond what the world told them was possible. Their brilliance is not a footnote. It is the blueprint for everything we call modern life. They were denied patents, funding, respect, and even basic recognition, yet they kept building because they believed that creation itself was worth the struggle. They worked in kitchens, basements, and segregated schools, often without formal training or financial support. They relied on sheer curiosity to open the locked doors of science and industry. Every invention they made carried a silent rebellion, a refusal to accept invisibility. They were told you cannot, and they answered with, "Watch me." When you send a text, use a microphone, listen to music, walk through safe streets, or ride an elevator, their presence surrounds you, even if their names do not. And that is the heart of this story. It is not just about machines or gadgets. It is about humanity. About people who turned adversity into innovation and silence into legacy. They are proof that brilliance knows no color and talent needs no permission, that even in a world built to overlook them, they carved their names into its very foundation. It is time the world says their names aloud to teach children not just who invented, but who endured to give us the lives we now take for granted. They showed that genius is not born from privilege, but from persistence, from believing in something so deeply you build it, even when the world tells you to stop. And so this is not an ending. It is an invitation to see your world differently because every object around you carries a piece of their spirit. Every step you take on illuminated sidewalks, every sound you hear through your headphones, every safe breath you take inside warm walls. They gave us more than inventions. They gave us the courage to imagine and the strength to keep building, no matter who says we cannot. If these stories moved you, if even one of these forgotten heroes inspired you, then honor their legacy by making sure their light never goes out. If you like our video, please like it and subscribe to our channel and join us as we continue uncovering the hidden pioneers who built the world you live in today.